everybody. Good morning. I can't hear you. That's better.
And we gotta make some noise for Mr. Ferrigno one more time. Come on.
How you doing, Brain?
I'm great, Lou.
I've never been to the convention before. I'm really excited to meet everybody. It's great to be here, especially that I brought my warm clothes with me.
Yeah, it's kind of cold. So let's jump into this. We're going to do like a 30-minute interview and then a Q&A with the crowd. I'm so glad you're here. I want to ask you a few questions. You were born in Brooklyn, New York. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience and us a little something about your early life in New York? How things were back then?
Well, when I was very young, close to birth, I lost like 85% of my hearing. So I was very introverted as a child. So to escape the pain, I used to read a lot of comic books, Superman comic books, but being very introverted. And this is back in the early 50s because I was obsessed with power. So that was my journey when I was young, because at that point on, I learned about bodybuilding and fitness, because I was a very weak kid. But interesting that my favorite hero was like the Incredible Hulk, because I liked the fact that he had no clothes on. You see the muscles, it's like G versus E. So that was the beginning of my story.
Great. So, is it safe to say that the fact that you had the hearing loss gave you a sense of extra determination, like extra will?
Yeah, because I had to work harder than the average person to succeed. So what happened though, I had all these different comic books. My father would take me to a comic book store. The one time I was doing a magazine, a guy in the cover, blonde-haired guy doing a chest code. I said, wow, this is Mr. Universe. I used to watch Miss America, Miss Universe, but I realized that I see muscle because that attracted me to it, and I realized that this is what I want to be like, what I want to look like.
So when did you start working out? Like you were 13 or 14 when you started?
By maybe about 13 years old.
Wow, that's early.
Yeah, I had old wings. I couldn't afford the wings. I used to get a cement pail and throw the cement for the broomstick. I used to make my own barbell because I couldn't afford the wings. I was poor as a kid.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of determination. That's a great story. So of course, we got to talk about pumping iron a bit, because you were like winning all kinds of competitions before that, right?
Yeah. I was Mr. Teenage America, Mr. Universe, Mr. America, Mr. International, and then of course I competed with Schwarzenegger in pumping iron in 1975.
So what was it like? You've been asked this question 100 times, 1,000 times, but what was it like to work with Schwarzenegger at that time?
It was a lot of fun because we were competitive. And of course I wanted to defeat him because of my idol growing up. You gotta remember that back then at that time, there were no muscle guys in the movie, only for CV. So did you know first prize was $750?
What?
Yeah, for the original Olympians, $750, that was first prize.
First prize?
That's my food bill for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we brought bodybuilders into the mainstream, because back then, we were like the two biggest guys in the sport.
So bodybuilding and the whole fitness thing, the way you guys were professional and it was brand new, it kind of like was pulled out of the underground by you guys.
Yes, because the book came out called Pumping Iron. But then when the book became a bestseller, then they decided to make a documentary, Pumping Iron. So when that movie came out, the public learned about bodybuilding, what bodybuilding is. Because back then, bodybuilding was more like a freak sport, like a shadow sport.
Yeah.
Then once it got to the mainstream, then women got involved working out, and then you have like people of all different generations.
Got you. And before we go into the super classic TV show, The Hulk, I want to ask you, because I'm a fan of your work with the Italian director, the stuff you did as Sinbad and Hercules.
Luigi Costa.
Yeah, Luigi Cazzi, right? Luigi Cazzi. What was it like to work with him? Because you're Italian American, that's your heritage. And I love those films because they're so like 80s and so different. And Italian cinema has a great following worldwide. And I think those movies are actually not really talked about enough, because I thought you were phenomenal in them. How was it to work with Luigi, and what's that to you?
Well, you see, I did the whole series up to like 1980, and then a friend of mine said, the producers said, would you like to do Hercules? I said, yeah, I would love to play Hercules because that's one of my dreams. So we had a chance to film in Rome, Italy, at all the different locations. I mean, we didn't even have to build a set because Hercules goes back at that time period. I was very excited because I did Hercules, Sinbad, but Hercules is my favorite because I wanted to be show the best physique on the screen. And I was like 280 pounds, ripped to the bone, shredded. So it was 3 months of shooting. So I was very happy. I grew a beard and everything because I wanted to show the epitome of Hercules. Still today, no one's been on the screen that can match it. It's like 40 years ago.
Yeah, man. And is because you did 2 parts of Hercules. There's part 1 and part 2. Do you have a specific favorite of those 2?
I would say the original because especially with the Italian director. But you know, it's funny when you film a movie in Italy. We're sitting down having lunch, they bring all this wine, and then it's like an hour lunch, and then they bring all these huge Coca-Cola bottles of espresso. Everybody goes back to work. The Italian crew was great, it was so much fun, and not only that, when you get a tan in Italy, it's like a golden tan. So it's like the whole package, I couldn't replace that.
Great, so where was it filmed? In Italy?
Yeah, Rome, Italy.
Rome, right, great. So thank you for those answers, man. I always wanted to know, and I think they're still just iconic, cult films, man. So chronologically, we're gonna hop back to the Hulk. Can you tell the audience how did you end up as the Hulk? Like, how did that process go from pumping iron into being cast as the Hulk?
Well, what happened, I was training for the 1977 Miss Olympia competition, but then at the time they were filming the Hulk with another actor named Richard Kiel. He was 7th grade, he played George and James Bond. So one day, the director came on the set with his son. The boy said, "Dad, he doesn't look like the Hulk of the comic book, supposed to be big and muscular." So they decided to do a nationwide casting call. So my phone rang, they said we have a casting call for the Hulk. I said, "You gotta be kidding." I went for the screen test, they painted me green, and before you know, 24 hours later, they replaced Richard Kiel with me. They reshot the whole pilot because the other character, Richard Kiel, didn't fit the part. They were about to shelf the pilot. So when I came along, then the rest was history.
24 hours later, you have to do the pilot?
I got hired 24 hours later. I'm looking in the mirror, I'm all green, all made up. I said to myself, what am I doing? I mean, because I was training for the 1977 Miss Olympia competition, but then I decided why not grab this opportunity, so I gave up training for the title, but I ended up 24 hours later, I'm in the makeup chair.
Wow, that's crazy, man. And you were reading the whole comics as a kid, so that must have been amazing.
Like a dream coming true, but the beauty part is that it was the perfect time and place. Because at the time, Spider-Man and Captain America failed at the TV series, so I'm kind of nervous, but with the Hulk hit the air, then everything became a huge hit.
Great, man. And Bill Bixby, he, of course, was your co-actor in the series, but he also became a friend and a mentor, right? Is that correct?
Yes, because I was a fan of his because he'd done many different TV series, so I studied under him. I didn't know anything about acting, so I just studied about the mark, about the lighting, about the different camera angles. I watched Bill, but I worship him. He was the best.
Great. And so, I bet you a bunch of people in the audience want to know the craziest anecdote of filming the Hulk. I mean, you did so many seasons, bunch of pilots. They were actually TV movies, right? I mean, the pilots were 2-hour shows, really. And later on, you had the Incredible Hulk Returns, the Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I mean, to me, they were like films on TV, and we had the reruns later in Europe, but I grew up on it. So what, to you, was the most crazy anecdote you ever went through when you were filming the Hulk? The craziest thing that happened to you?
Well, when I was filming one night, it was like 2 in the morning, I said to the makeup person, "Don't take the makeup off, I'm going to drive home with the makeup." I was too tired. So I'm on the freeway, right, and driving, and there's a car next to me, the guy's looking at me, it was like an SUV, he goes, "Oh my God," he goes, "Look who that is," and by accident his car hit a bus. I didn't know if he died or not, but I said I need to get home because I got all this makeup, how am I going to explain everything to him? But that was the weirdest thing I've ever done.
So you were in traffic as the Hulk?
Yeah, I drove home because I decided to take the makeup off myself, but I made the mistake driving home with the makeup on, and the poor guy see me in the car, he ended up getting into an accident because he was so excited. That's the last time I driven home.
Right, right. And also, the whole, because what I liked about the Hulk as well, there were like really great messages in it, like the one episode where you kind of deal with the father that abuses his son. And then you were like really like that stuff was intense to me as a kid, and it had a positive message. Can you elaborate on that specific episode?
Well, they showed the relationship with the father and the son. The father abusing his son, kept beating him up, and there's a great scene where he does the same to David Banner, Bill Bixby, and Bill becomes the Hulk. Then you see Lee pushing the father against the wall, tormenting him like he tormented his son, and the father breaks down crying that he admitted that he has a lot of demons inside of him, that he needs some psychiatric help. But the beautiful scene to see the Hulk pushing him, because the Hulk was the bully this time, he wasn't the bully.
Yeah, man, I just watched the scene on YouTube the other week, and it's still very powerful. Great message. And so there were 5 seasons, right? 80 episodes?
90.
90?
About 85, 86, yeah.
Crazy. So, how long did it take to film a particular episode, like a regular episode? How long did it take?
The episode took like 10 days.
10 days?
Yeah, the makeup took like 3.5 hours.
Wow.
I had to be retouched all day. We take an hour and a half to take the makeup off, because the face, they had to apply the appliances, spear gum glue, that they use like grease makeup. Then the body, I was standing like this, and the crew come in full coat of makeup. In those days, they didn't have the spray. They had a ball of clay, they would just rub it in. It was very uncomfortable. But when the makeup was completed, the character was beautiful. You wonder why I was so pissed.
Because what time you had to be on set for the makeup? Like 5 or 6 in the morning?
Yeah, that would be the first one on the set, the last one to leave. One time I was on the set about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sitting there to the catering truck, the guy that drives the catering truck said, "What do you want to eat for breakfast?" I usually have a 12-egg omelet. I was much bigger. So he brings the omelet to the motorhome. I said, "Leave the omelet outside on the step, let it cool down." Then the catering said, "We're taking off." He said, "This is all you need?" I said, "Yeah." So I told the makeup man to retrieve my omelet, and then 20 minutes later, he opened the door, the omelet was gone, the dish was empty, the coyote ate my breakfast.
Oh, what?
Yeah. 5 o'clock in the morning, no breakfast, the coyotes, I know.
Coyotes, man, that's LA for you, right? So you also did, oh yeah, one more thing, as I'm a sneaker collector, right? I love Nikes and everything. There are shots in the series where you become the Hulk, and then the Nike pops, and it tears open and you become the Hulk. How did you guys do that? Were those Nikes real or were they made? Like,
that was done by a stunt double. They did different stuff to them. And by the way, a lot of times I had to run in New York City. I wear like green ballet slippers, because a lot of times they're flat on the floor. So they made the ballet slippers kind of green. You can pick it up when you see the series, but I think that's what I had to wear, because especially running the streets and the woods and everything.
Great. I love those shots. And fantastic. You also did a cameo in Ang Lee's Hulk in 2003, which I actually love. Anybody know about Ang Lee, the Hulk, 2003? I love that film personally.
That's the one I did. I came out with Stan Lee.
Yeah, I think so.
That was me and Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And that's the second one with Evan Norton.
Right, yeah. And then, so the second one of 2008 was The Incredible Hulk from Louis Leterrier. I think he directed it. Louis Leterrier.
Yeah, wonderful director.
Yeah. So how was it for you to still be recognized globally and then to do cameos in the new Hulk film?
Well, you got to remember one thing. I've done 5 TV series, over 50 films. My TV series I filmed last year called The Offer. As a matter of fact, Dan Folker, he played Francis Ford Coppola.
Right.
I played Lucy Brasi. We filmed that for 6 months. And recently, last summer, I filmed a huge horror movie. My first horror movie called The Hermit. I played a cannibalistic pig farm. I made beef jerky to other people. Wait to see this movie. It's scary.
So when is that coming?
It should come out maybe next fall, and probably Netflix and the theater too.
Hey, wait a minute. We got Mr. Lou Ferrigno here, and he's gonna make beef jerky out of people. That's crazy. Yo, make some noise for Lou Ferrigno, man. Hold on. In the middle of the interview, we gotta do it. And also, what I really appreciate about you, I told you backstage already, you're a very inspirational figure to me, but you also were the personal trainer to Michael Jackson. And he was crazy about you, and he was very respectful, and he loved being around you. He felt safe around you. And can you elaborate on your collaboration with Michael? Because you were great friends.
Well, you see, Michael came to me because he couldn't go to a regular gym. And I was friends with his doctor, so I admired Michael's passion for music. He admired my passion for fitness. So we collaborated because we both had similar fathers, very abusive. Michael was a sweetheart. So I trained him on and off almost like 20 years, but he's such an iconic guy. I've been training people for 35 years. I trained Chuck Norris, Mickey Rourke. I made lawyers and doctors, all walks of life. That was a side thing I did, which I enjoyed.
Hey man, I gotta get in shape. When I'm in LA, can I give you a call to work out?
I'll think about it.
Another thing that I thought was really great was you were in I Love You Man, a comedy with Paul Rudd and Rashida Jones and Jason Segel's in there. That was a great movie. And also, I want to know how that was for you, that experience.
Well, it was great because those actors are delicious, because before that, the King and Queens for 7 years. But then, the director said, he invited me to come down to the studio. He said, I wrote this movie called I Love You Man. And would you be interested? I read the script. I said, it sounds great because I get to play myself and they're trying to sell my house. At the same time, I put Jason Segel in a chokehold because he's calling me names, calling me the Hulk. It was the best comedy of 2008.
Yeah, and I love that film. And also what I really admire is you kind of like, I mean, you're this iconic figure, man. Like, everybody grew up on the Hulk, man. Me too, I'm so happy that we're here doing this interview. But at the same time, you make fun of yourself. Like, you don't take it too serious. That's amazing. And it makes you more powerful as an icon. So is that something you just feel that's cool to do, or you have no problem with that? I love that personally.
I like it because it works for comedy, because the fact I'm playing Lou Ferrigno, with everyday life, I go through the same things that they incorporated that on the TV series and the movie I Love You Man.
Yeah, that was great. And another thing, the difference between acting and voice acting. Because I did a couple of voice acting roles myself, and I noticed it's a pretty rhythmical thing, right? It's pretty, you have to really mouth and mimic the movements of the characters. How was that for you to do all the cinematic Marvel stuff? Like you were the Hulk voice until Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah, because whenever you do a voiceover, like for a cartoon or something, you can't interact with the actors because you have a microphone right there, that you have a microphone, but I can't act with you. Everything's going to be direct.
Right.
Which is hard, because voice, you have to be very creative. But in an acting situation, we can interact in a drama series, but a voice is very hard. But that's why I did the voice for this cartoon series for UPN. But Incredible Hulk, all these different characters, Mark Hamill, all the famous actors. But it's funny, we're all sitting there, all looking through the microphone, but it's all more direct. It's a different experience.
It's a different experience, it definitely is. So you did films, movies, and you did TV. Is there any of the two that you prefer?
I like both, but I like TV. I like the high pace. Because TV is fast. Like when you do a sitcom, you only have 1 or 2 takes. You can't do the 5 or 10 takes. You're in front of a live audience. And I like the instant gratification. When you do a feature film, you don't have that. And you get to see yourself maybe months later on the screen.
And also, because nowadays with the streaming platforms, obviously storytelling is becoming more and more important. People want to be drawn into series, and like we were as a kid when we were watching the Hulk. Is there anything, I mean, you have so much knowledge and experience, is there anything you would want to do behind the scenes, maybe as a director or a writer or a coach? Or?
I would rather continue acting. I'd rather be, I'd like to do another sitcom.
Comedy.
I enjoy playing different characters, and that's why I decided to play this horror film. I never did a horror film before, but this is my breakout film. It's something different, because not just another action movie, not just another drama movie, something that the character, the Herman, he's a scary character, but you feel his pain, more like Frankenstein. That's unique, that's what I decided to do. I want more of those kind of roles.
Got you. So is it safe to say that you, I mean, you've been through a lot of stuff. You told me about your father. Did you make a positive out of a negative? Is that the way you could say it? Like, because you're a very powerful figure and inspirational, because you've been through a lot and you want to translate that pain into creative things? Is that?
Well, you see, when I was born, I was rejected by my father because I'm not the perfect son. So I had to carry his pain. But it's interesting because he was a police lieutenant. So basically, growing up with that kind of childhood, that's why I had to basically work on myself. But it's funny, Steph, maybe a strong person, maybe a warrior, because I didn't want to be abused anymore. He was very controlling. A lot of people today, they have good relationship with their parents. Some people have bad relationship. But you only can look for the best in people. We can't change. For example, you can choose your friend, but you can't choose your parent. So you make the best out of it. So you have to get a good positive support group. That's why I talk a lot about overcoming fear, because every one of us has a fear factor. You have to embrace that fear, because my father always instilled in me saying, if you have your hearing, you be this, you be this, you be this. I've done it all. He had low self-esteem. But I've taken that football as gone further than where I want to be, because I can't take no for an answer. I became a fighter. That's why I am what I am now, because every one of us has a passion. You have to embrace that passion. That makes you unstoppable.
That's great. That's great. Right, exactly. And since we're at this point right now in the interview, I mean, I want to say on stage to you and to you, the highest human act is to inspire one another. And personally, you inspired me.
Thank you.
And I want you to feel at home. We're going to go into the Q&A, but I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. And
thank you very much.
Beautiful person. Make some noise for Lou Ferrigno. Come on, y'all. So I had a bunch of other questions, but we're going to go into the Q&A. I want you to ask a question to Mr. Ferrigno. Is there anybody that's going to help the people out that have questions for Mr. Ferrigno? And also, just make sure you speak loud and clear. And one thing, the house rule, don't ask for pictures or autographs, because Mr. Ferrigno will be doing those over there. But you can ask anything about TV and movies if you want. We got bugs coming flying in.
Don't be shy.
I'm not. First to say, my parents grew up on your series on The Incredible Hulk. You were like 10 years old, I think. And yeah, so I'm not that old, I'm 22, but it doesn't matter. My father showed me scenes of your show, and I thought it was awesome. And I want to ask you, what is your opinion on She-Hulk? Because it was good.
What is your opinion on She-Hulk, the new show on Disney?
It's very negatively approached, you know?
I've seen a little bit. I like the idea about a She-Hulk. It's great to see a female She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of what the Hulk is like now, because the Hulk needs to be hideous or authentic, but I don't like the way it's being portrayed. I think it go back to the original concept, because you have a magic formula. You don't want to change it. But like the Hulk became a professor or dressed up, I personally don't like it, because I think CGI is dominating the quality of the acting. We need to go back to a good storyline. That's why the original series, every episode had a lazy, compelling message about life. You want to feel for that character. But that's my opinion.
Oh, thank you.
Great question, by the way. Yeah, we got another one.
Hi, I have some sort of a fitness question. Before the pandemic, I was very motivated. I went to the gym 2-3 times a week. But after the lockdowns and the rules are deleted from our government, I lost the motivation. And what kind of advice do you have for me?
So she used to work out, kind of during the pandemic she couldn't because of all the rules and the lockdowns, right?
Yeah.
So she's asking for advice to get back and be motivated to work out again. If you have any advice about working out and motivation.
To get back into it, go back slowly. Like exercise 3 times a week. Start going for a walk, maybe like 1 or 2 miles, 3 or 4 times a week. And this way you get the blood and you get the tendons used to it. And when you go back to training, start maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and build up to like an hour. And the most important thing with that, make sure you eat properly. Like meat, fish, eggs, protein, and try not to eat too many sweets, and you should be fine.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's great advice coming from Lou Ferrigno, man. Like, that's priceless. Actually, maybe he can send you an invoice for that advice. Next question.
Hello, good to meet you, Lou Ferrigno. Absolute honor. But certainly with these days, that movies, certainly with the Incredible Hulk, is now portrayed in mostly computer animation and stuff. But do you miss being the physical aspect and portraying the Hulk as you used to do back then?
Can you say that again? Does he miss the physical aspect?
Do you miss being the physical aspect,
right,
Hulk, instead of just the voice?
I would say yeah. You gotta remember, I'm 71 now. I never want to play the Hulk like I used to. I'd rather play age of the character, but the physicality I show when I did the Hulk can never be replaced. I don't care who on this planet, they can't match what I've done as a series. So at least that I fulfill myself with that physicality, but at least that my physicality now, I could be who I am in a different role, like I just mentioned, like the movie I just finished called The Hammer.
Great question, and I actually love that question because I think as much as I love the Ang Lee Hulk film, I'm really enamored by the way you portrayed it, like physically, you know what I mean?
They did motion capture like Ang Lee used himself instead of using me, but that's a choice he made.
Yeah.
And that's why I heard the film.
Right, yeah, I think so too. Next question.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey man.
Remco here. Thank you for the interview yet. At the age of 6, 7, there were two things on television that I was really afraid of. It scared me. It was like the Michael Jackson video of Thriller and the Hulk. It made me sit behind the couch. Can you give me one thing about that character, the Hulk, that gives my 6-year-old inside me some inner peace?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Could you give me something about the character, the Hulk, which was that positive for my 6-year-old inside me to lose the fright?
So yeah, so it's safe to say Mr. Ferrigno inspired you, and you would want to hear some peaceful statement that would make you feel like a kid again?
No.
Oh.
No, I was I was afraid when I was a 6-year-old for the Hulk.
Oh, you were scared of him?
I'm scared.
When he was a kid, he was scared of you as the Hulk, and then the question is?
How could you give me something about that character that was that positive or that hopeful to change that? See now.
So he was afraid of the Hulk when he was a kid. Can you tell him something to calm down the 6-year-old kid within him? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Difficult question.
I would just say he's a sensitive creature. He's only angry because of the fact that he's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's the gamma rays that make him angry, but inside he's a sensitive creature because you see him with the animals, how sweet, loving he is. He's not an angry guy, he's a sensitive creature. And we all have a little Hulk inside of us. That's how we feel we relate to the character.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's crazy, because you said that about Michael Jackson too, right? He has, like, he felt that kind of little Hulk inside of him thing too.
Yeah, Michael had a lot of insecurities because of what his father did to him. And Michael was very kind to people. He loved children. But with me, he's a very genuine person. But the thing is, being so famous, everybody wants a piece of him. But Michael was a sweet kid, and he wanted to give, but too many people tried to take advantage of him. But with me, he felt safe with me, because I didn't want nothing for him. He didn't want nothing for me. It was like Lou and Michael, what's a Lou Ferrigno, Michael Jackson, and we had a beautiful friendship.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, next question.
Hi. So actually this is a question following one of the previous questions where you said you kind of miss playing the role. And now with Marvel and the universe like collapsing and the 3 Spider-Man's multiverse of madness, if there was the opportunity for a crossover with like you as the Hulk and She-Hulk and like the previous, like the Hulk now, would you like take it? Would you take the opportunity to do the crossover? Or do you think that's a bad idea in general?
You said, would he take the opportunity to do what? The crossover?
Yeah, like with the 3 Spider-Mans, like if there was an opportunity that the Hulk could do a crossover as well.
Right.
So you as the Hulk and like the Hulk nowadays, either She-Hulk or you know. But would you take that opportunity, or do you think that's a bad idea?
So would you take the opportunity to kind of blend the old school Hulk with the new Hulk? Is that what you're...
Yeah, just like they did with Spider-Man, basically.
Right. So is that something you would want to do, to be the classic 80s Hulk in a modern film within the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
That's what they should do, but because of the CGI, it's hard to blend that. That's why everybody goes back to the TV series, because the Hulk was human, more believable. But the CGI, you can't connect with the CGI like a human. But I think the 80s dominate that. We're great to interact with that. But you know, for years ago, we tried to get a She-Hulk off the ground. 35 years ago, the world wasn't ready for that. But now they want to see a She-Hulk. You see with a female superhero, which is great. But the idea of the 80s, that's a good question. I mean, but I'd rather be more like a Nick Fury instead of going back to being the Hulk. Because I did my thing back in the 80s.
Got you.
I would love it, actually.
She would love it.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. They would all love that. So we got another question.
Hi, I want to ask, did or do you find it hard to get angry now in real life?
Do you find it hard to get angry now in real life?
I hardly, you mean angry in real life?
In real life, yeah. Do you get annoyed or angry? Is that hard or easy?
I don't get angry. The only thing I time I get angry when people lie to me. I can't stand when people lie. Because, you know, not angry like an emotional, just upset because I'm a very laid back person. Plus I'm a police officer too. So I know how to start the situation.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a great answer. Man, so anybody else has a question? We got 5 more minutes. Anybody out there that wants to ask a burning question? Yeah, right there, we got another one.
I grew up watching you on The Incredible Hulk, and I never thought I would see you here in real life, but I also recently discovered you in this TV series, The Offer. The Offer is about the making of the Godfather movie. Can you talk a little bit about that role? Because you play a gangster.
I played as a character called Lucy Blasty. Now, most people, when they see The Godfather, but people don't realize the making of The Godfather, what was involved, all the stress, how the book got written. Like, for example, the character I played, he was a former wrestler, with a hitman. He killed his own mother, but apparently in the movie you see him at the beginning. So they approached me with the idea. I loved it because you got all these different actors playing Pacino, De Niro, Brando. It's wonderful, but it's amazing when people see the series, they see what it's taken. What it's taken to get this movie made off the ground, because there was so much stress from the mob, especially with Paramount Studio. It was a wonderful series. I was happy to be part of it.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Great question, great answer, man. I love that. So we got one more question.
Hi. So my dad grew up watching you. How do you feel like knowing that, like my dad was really scared of the Hulk because of you? How do you feel like that people were scared of the Hulk? Because it was such a transformation.
So yeah, she's asked her father used to watch the TV show. So your question is, how does it feel to know that people were scared of him back in the days?
Yeah, because my dad was so frightened.
He was
younger. Yeah.
Your father was afraid of the Hulk.
Yeah, because of the transformation, he was like.
Oh, the transformation was scary.
But they kept watching the show. And you know how many mothers hated me because of all the kids breaking TV, green makeup on the wall, on the couches. So I apologize to all the mothers out there. And of course, the people that were afraid to watch the show, but they kept watching it because I understand, because you see this change. Sometimes people hide behind the couches. But tell your father that thanks for watching.
Thanks so much. Yeah. So if we got one more original question, one final question before we wrap it up. Nobody wants to ask a question. Listen, we got to wrap this up the right way. I asked permission. We're going to do a little video with you in the back. Mr. Lou Ferrigno and me, we're on stage right now. And I want you guys, listen. I'm here with the one and only Mr. Lou Ferrigno, a.k.a. Hercules and the Incredible Hulk. Holla, make some noise! Thanks so much. You can check Mr. Ferrigno over there. Photos, autographs, meet and greets. Thanks so much. Much love. See you backstage. Your water. Blue, you want your water? So, hoe vonden jullie dat?